Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Berg is the Word. My name is Mark Bergen, and I tried to tell you, don't want to wish an injury upon anyone, but Zion Williamson getting hurt in last night's Duke, North Carolina game in the first minute. Nike's got an investigation into the sneakers that Williamson was wearing, and when $1 billion potentially are at stake, which some people believe that Zion could be worth that much money, the debate now is whether or not Zion will return for the Duke Blue Devils. Please feel free to let me know throughout this discussion, one way or another, how you feel about that, whether you think he should come back and play if he's healthy, or if he should decide to stop playing this season for Duke and to move on and start preparation for this summer's NBA draft. Again, my name is Mark Bergen if you're just joining, but I wrote about this in advance of last night's primetime game, and it got me thinking. Tickets were going for $3,000. Former President Barack Obama was there. Spike Lee. You had all these moving parts, and I couldn't help but think, what more does Zion Williamson have to prove? What more does he need to do on a basketball floor for Duke to prove that he's worthy of a lottery pick, a top 3 pick, or very likely the number 1 overall pick, even despite his knee injury? I'm sure Duke already knows by this point. We don't know publicly of the status of the knee injury. I was listening to the radio. Maria Taylor for ESPN says that Cameron Indoor Stadium does not have either an X-ray machine or an MRI. So we will see once that's announced, but I also don't think it's likely that Williamson plays Saturday in a 6 p.m. Eastern Time primetime matchup against Syracuse. And if you didn't see this, Syracuse head coach Jim Boeheim hit and killed a man on the interstate following last night's win at Syracuse over Louisville. So if you haven't seen that, again, Boeheim's cooperating with authorities, but Duke yet again in prime time on Saturday. College Game Day will have their pregame show there on Saturday as well. But I would really be shocked if Williamson ends up playing on Saturday. It was good to see that he walked off the floor under his own power. But again, when you're talking about $1 billion at stake, there's just too much for him to lose if he decides to continue to play for Duke. So let me break this down for you really, really quickly with how I'm getting that figure. So Fran Fraschilla, he's a college basketball analyst, says that he believes Williamson could be worth $1 billion one day. There are only 3 other athletes who have made $1 billion in their respective sport: Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, and Floyd Mayweather. LeBron James will likely be the 4th player to do so, but Williamson this season in college basketball does one of 2 things. He either is the needle or moves the needle in terms of TV ratings. So why does that matter? The TV networks weren't going to have this conversation about amateurism and whether or not Williamson should continue to play before his injury. Like I told you in advance, I told you this, I've gone on Periscope to tell you about this, and it could completely redefine amateurism and how we see college athletes. But the networks aren't going to talk about this. ESPN won't, CBS won't, and Turner Sports won't for this reason. They broadcast the games, and if Williamson is playing, people will watch. ESPN has College Game Day at Durham, North Carolina last night in advance of tonight's game. They scrapped SportsCenter. They had an hour pregame, live College Game Day pregame show ahead of the North Carolina Duke game last night. They showed it in prime time at 9 p.m. and Duke is again scheduled to play Saturday at 6 o'clock Eastern Time in prime time against Syracuse. And again, it all has to do with the TV ratings generated by Zion Williamson. We haven't seen a recruit of this caliber come out of the prep ranks since LeBron was coming out in 2003. And perhaps I'm valuing what Williamson is able to do and what he brings to the table a little bit too highly, but the ratings reflect that. And so you see a lot of people that say, well, Williamson should continue to play. I'll say this. I do understand the argument if you're buying that playing for Duke under Mike Krzyzewski in the training and the things that you learn at Duke as a player, if you're buying that is the best preparation for the NBA, because this kid's going to be a top 3 pick. You could go bet a mortgage on it. This kid's going to be, at the very least, a lottery pick. But at what point is that not worth it? You could argue, it'll add to his mystique, a championship run, a possible ACC title. We see that this kid's athletically extremely gifted. His skill set's great. He shoots at a high clip, and he plays defense as well. What more does he need to do for Duke this season before deciding, you know what? He should hang it up and go start training to be a pro. And then you get into the argument of, let's pay the college players. The problem is if you pay the college players, you have to pay all of them evenly under Title IX. All 24 sports or whatever it is, there are thousands of college athletes. You would need to pay equally if you decide to pay college players. And what's to say for Duke, the Duke men's basketball team itself, what's to say that you wouldn't pay the 12th man the same money that you're paying Zion Williamson? And you have to pay the other sports all the same. You got to pay women's soccer and men's soccer and track and field and wrestling and volleyball and baseball. All these sports that don't actually generate revenue for universities. The 2 sports that generate revenues, if you don't know, college football is the king, and only some men's college basketball teams actually make money and generate revenue for their universities. A lot of them operate on a loss, and a lot of people don't realize that. So when you hop on the networks today and you see, really watch who says what in what network that they're on. Jalen Rose goes on Get Up on ESPN today and says absolutely he should play. And again, if you want to buy the training argument, I certainly understand that. However, ESPN broadcasts the college games. If Zion Williamson is playing in said college game, they can afford to charge more money if Zion Williamson is playing in the game. He either moves the needle or is the needle. So, in effect, by drawing high ratings during live sports, that's how these networks actually make their money. With Williamson in the game, you're going to get a higher rating. And so, of course, they're going to encourage Zion to continue to play. And I just don't understand why we're having to have this conversation in the aftermath of Zion's injury. And again, this was something I wrote about, I periscoped about on my Facebook show. I talked about this even before Zion's injury. You can look this up, look at the timestamps. I said this: if he has a significant injury, what's really the point of his amateurism at Duke? And I certainly understand this as well. Some people think that R.J. Barrett was ranked ahead of Zion before the start of the season. I certainly get that argument that Zion might have improved his stock. But here's what's coming. A lot like how in 2016 when Stanford running back Christian McCaffrey and LSU running back Leonard Fournette decided not to play in their team's respective bowl games because they were meaningless at that point, we could possibly see college basketball players begin to do the exact same thing. And especially if you're an elite-level college basketball player who's playing for not a very good team. If you're an elite-level college basketball player and your team's headed to the NIT, if I'm advising you, don't do it. Start training for the pros. But really, what does a championship, an NCAA title, or an ACC title really add to Zion Williamson's value? If he decides to hang it up and you're an NBA GM and you have a lottery pick and he's available, he's going to be a top 3 pick, probably the number 1 pick. But say Zion Williamson somehow fell to the 2nd or 3rd pick and he decided, you know what, I'm going to stop playing for Duke. And you're an NBA GM in that spot and he was your favorite selection. Wouldn't you still pick him? Wouldn't you still pick him? And yes, he would have to forego his education at Duke if he were to make this decision. At this point, maybe not. But even before last night's injury and before last night's game, I was talking about this. Because, again, potentially $1 billion is at stake. Fran Fraschilla thinks this. Scotty just hang it up in January. He said this, and it didn't get that much publicity. Saw a Washington Post story about it, and then again, Fran Fraschilla says that he could be worth $1 billion. Again, only 3 other athletes have done it. LeBron's going to be the 4th. If there's that much money at stake, who cares about your amateurism? Who cares about an NCAA championship? when Zion Williamson's career is over, I certainly hope it is this. I hope we're talking about what a great professional career that he had versus how he was a Comet and he just flamed out in college. When you talk about the all-time greats, you talk about their professional careers, not what they did at the college level. And that's why, again, a lot of it has to do with financials. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, Zion said even if he could have been a one and done, he still would have gone to college. Money talks. Money talks for everyone. And it's not just the money he would generate as an NBA rookie. It's also the endorsement deals that he will eventually receive. They're going to be extremely lucrative. And when there's that much money on the table, money talks. Everyone has a price. And there's just too much at stake. Again, my name is Mark Bergen. Do this every single day. This is Berg is the word. I'm happy to answer any questions or comments any of you have, even if you're watching after the fact. I can do my very best to monitor those. But that's really the basis of what I've been saying all along, even before Zion's injury last night. We'll see what ends up happening. We'll see. I'm sure he'll either have an MRI or an X-ray, and those results will be announced publicly, I'm sure, in the coming days. And I'm sure Duke already knows this decision. But again, Mike Krzyzewski last night calling it a right knee sprain. We'll see if there's anything more, and we'll see if he returns to the court for Duke this season and whether or not that's a good idea. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. All of you, enjoy the rest of your Thursdays. I hope you enjoyed watching. I'll see you next time. Take care. So long, everyone.